in similar ways, like when the first iPhone came out, and then 5 years later or 10 years later, you look back and you said to yourself, "Oh my God, that completely changed my life." That's the same thing that's going to be with audio and voice.
Welcome to Audio Branding, the hidden gem of marketing. Sound plays a more important role in human behavior and our decision-making than you may realize. In this podcast, I'll help you understand the art and science of sound so you can better influence others in business and your life. I'm your host, Jody Krangle. Let's delve a little deeper. This is the first part of my interview with Ron Jaworski. My next guest is the CEO of Trinity Audio, a unified platform that allows owners of content to strategically evolve to deliver audio experiences. Some of Trinity Audio's top publishing clients and brands include Forbes, Lenovo, McClatchy, and Newsweek. An ad tech veteran with a deep understanding of the publisher and brand's landscape, he has an extensive background in leading organizations and earned his Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, receiving his MBA in Marketing and Marketing Management from the Recanati Business School. His name is Ron Jaworski, and he clearly is as passionate about voice and audio as I am. I really think you'll enjoy this. As always, if you have questions for my guest, you're welcome to reach out through the links in the show notes. And if you have questions for me, visit audiobrandingpodcast.com, where you'll find a lot of ways to get in touch. Plus, subscribing to the newsletter will let you know when the new podcasts are available. And now, here's my interview with Ron Jaworski. Thank you, first of all, for joining me today. I really appreciate it, Ron. I've been looking forward to this conversation because we had a little bit of an intro previously and lots of interesting things we're going to discuss today. So, yeah, thank you.
I agree, and I super enjoyed the intro call, and I'm also excited to be here.
So when we had that intro call, I let you know about a particular question that I like to ask when I talk to people because I get some really interesting stories. And you had indicated that you had a couple about this, but I'm going to ask you now. So do you have an early memory of how sound moved you?
So I think that the first time that I and it's related, of course, to Trinity Audio, that the audio experience moved me. It was I'm going back like a little bit over 20 years ago. I was actually a soldier. It was Friday evening. We were after we were eating dinner, and then we went out to the post. Me and the doctor. I was in a combat unit, and were in Lebanon, and we after Friday dinner went out to the post as we need to watch for the parameter for a few hours. And he took out like an FM transistor, small one, like probably if I show it today to someone, he didn't understand what I'm talking about, but to my kids or something like that. But then it was the most popular way to listen to the radio. And he turned then to a show that was actually was broadcasted every Friday at 7 p.m. that called the Historical Hour, or Hour of History, if I translate it correctly, with an history professor named Michael Harsegor. That was his name. And over there he talked, and I still remember the show. The show was about Bismarck, and it was about how he united Germany. And I'm, as a history buff, for me to know that now I don't need only to read books, but also I can listen to a show about history and learn from that. That for me was something that was, out of the ordinary. And I enjoyed the experience of, sitting there in this fortified position, with my guns and my helmet and everything, and listening to this professor talking about how Bismarck unified Germany. And since then, until a few years ago, almost a decade since Professor Harzagor died, I tried every Friday at 7 p.m. To open the radio and listen to that show. And for me, the option to consume knowledge and information, to be educated by the radio from that experience, really made an impact. and that is why I was an early adopter to audiobooks, and this was why I was early adopter to podcasting, and that is why today I'm doing what I'm doing with Trinity Audio.
Sure. Yeah. You had mentioned there was another thing that you were that impressed you when you were a kid, something about Superman.
And it stays till today. It was the first Superman ever, and the theme that came with the movie and with Christopher Reeve. It's important to mention.
Yeah.
And I remember that I think I was six, somewhere around six, and it was out of cinemas and it was in TV, and then it took time. It took sometimes even years from the time it was broadcast in cinemas till the time it was broadcast in TV. And I remember that I saw it on television. It was late, and then the film started, and I still remember it today. And still, when I hear it today, the Superman film, where like in sequels, the never-ending sequels, I still
Yeah.
get that shiver down my spine. That get me back to that exact point for the first time that the theme came up, this specific sound came out, and then you saw him like flying across wherever he flew. And that's I don't know, that's I think that similar to smell, there are specific sounds that just, I don't know, impact our bodies
Oh, very
once
much
once
so.
we encounter them.
Yeah. And soundtracks in particular, music in particular, can really bring us back to the first moment that we heard them. So, yeah, those soundtracks, and, besides the fact that they're really good,
Super.
yeah, super. Exactly. Yeah, they bring us back to that time. It almost is like you are reliving that memory as opposed to remembering that memory.
I agree.
And I think that, like you were saying with smell, I think the same thing happens when you smell your grandma's baked cookies or something like that. You're brought back to that kitchen when you were 6 or whatever. I don't know. Like it just, yeah, it's really visceral.
So true.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, because I know that you're an entrepreneur, and I sort of, this is a little outside of what we usually cover here, but I think it's important because I know that that's kind of part and parcel of why you started Trinity Audio and how you even had I guess the courage, to start something like that, because starting a business takes courage. So as an entrepreneur, what does that mean to you?
I think that Trinity Audio came from an actual need that I had. I wanted to have a simple option to listen to any type of textual asset that I want, that is of course relevant to consume in an audio manner. And for me, the eureka moment, or when I pitch to investors, so I'm gonna tell the fairy tale story how it started. So it was me going down the elevator, reading an article, getting into my car, and thinking to myself that I need to have a simple solution where I can just press play on a button on a page, on a web page, and have the text being read out to me. And when the first time I thought about it, I was sure that there was some sort of a solution that's probably easy to use, that probably the operating system solved that, or the browser, and I saw that they're not. And if there is a solution, that it's either the experience is super poor or it's super complicated to create it. And this is where I started, and it also goes back to the fact that I like to consume information in an audio manner. And by the way, 30% of the world population are better in consuming content and learning in an audio manner. So I have a huge group with me that is definitely
Sure.
looking for that solution. Beside the fact that it makes sense, especially now when we always look to efficiency and multitasking,
Sure. Yeah.
and everything is, everything in the audio space and the voice space is growing. And again, just the beginning, but it's growing. So we're in a good place.
I'm a little biased on that. Yeah.
Both of us, I think. I think
Just
that
a
both of
little,
us.
yeah.
Yeah, just Just a tip.
Just a touch. Yeah.
I know we're all dealing with a lot these days, so I really wanted to acknowledge those that have gone out of their way to leave an honest review of this podcast. Like Edith, who writes, "Excellent job. I will recommend this podcast to my friend who is now working on their company branding. I believe that sound plays a great role in their company's brand, and I'm sure she will like this recommendation. Excellent job, Jody." Thanks so much, Edith. I'm so glad you and your friend find the podcast useful. I really appreciate your comments. And for those of you that are interested, you can also leave a voice review now off of the main podcast page. It's super simple, and I'd love to hear what you think. Now, back to the show.
So when you were starting the company and you were trying to get all this together, what kind of steps did you take to actually make this a going concern to the people you were trying to get to invest? Because that's an important thing. I mean, you needed a little bit of help. I'm assuming most of us do.
Yes.
And how did you convince them that this was important?
So I think that the great thing about what we are doing is that everybody says it makes sense. I think that there's not even one person that I met through the 4 years that Trinity Audio exists that I told him about the solution. He said, yes, I encounter myself. I know myself in that situation. I know myself when I got into my car and I wanted to read the rest of the article, but couldn't. So I would say that the gut feeling that I had is definitely resonated, and there were an increase in I would say an improvement and an increase in audio solution that came out to the market that showed that the tide is for audio again. Both of us are biased about it, but
yeah, just a little.
So it was easy for me to convince the investor that we should follow that path. Important thing to mention is that I come from the video space, from the ad tech industry, in the video space in the ad tech industry, and it was also clear to us from the beginning that the solution, beside the fact that it would be super useful for the users, the end listeners, it's also super relevant for publication or for any type of content created, due to the fact that it increase the user engagement and create a better experience. And it's also optional, but can also be a form of monetization. And
helps with accessibility too. I mean, if blind people want to encounter or experience your article, they need to have it read to them. So
I must say that at the beginning, I tried to pursue a lot the accessibility factor about it. I say that definitely all the different content creators, website, media companies are all about it, but I think that the solution for a full accessible website or full accessible app is not done by adding Trinity Audio, although it definitely helps a lot.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a step into the right direction. But yes, you are correct. And by the way, we got a few, I think it was last year, it was actually an email that was it's one of those fun things. I don't know if fun is the right word, but definitely warms your heart. We got an email from a father that told us that he loved our solution because his daughter, which she was 10 years old, I guess she's now 11, loved the news, and she has hard time reading due she has short-sighted, and our solution gives them the option together at night before she goes to sleep to listen to news articles together and discuss about them.
Nice.
And yeah, and those was one of those things that she said, no, I didn't know that make that much of an impact on, and then you have the example of how people are using your product, using your solution on a day-to-day basis in ways that you didn't even imagine. And you understand that you're doing something good.
Yeah, definitely. And when you're talking about Trinity Audio, I just want to go into this a little bit more. So your niche was that you wanted to allow people to read an article when they weren't actually like reading the article. They could go in their car, they could commute, they could be doing the laundry, they could be washing dishes, they could be having a walk. And instead of having to look at a piece of paper, they could, or, a screen, they could actually have it read to them. So that's fantastic. But so the niche that you feel it fills is that filling in the spaces in people's lives so that they can still experience this information without needing to stop everything they're doing and focus on one thing. Is that
I think,
or is there more to it? Is what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Like, what more can Trinity do?
So I think there are several things. I think that the basic building block is the option to listen instead of reading. And I think that the option to listen to instead of reading then opens up to other options. And we need to understand that although we feel that the audio revolution is here and it's with full force, most of the population is not there yet. And I think that we are in an amazing decade. There's no doubt about this would be the voice in audio decade. And I think that in similar ways, like when the first iPhone came out, and then 5 years later or 10 years later, you look back and you said to yourself, oh my God, that completely changed my life. That's the same thing that's going to be with audio and voice. And I think that voice and audio and voice, they're both the two sides of the same coin. And to have the ability to do queries in voice, or to do any kind of functionality, different functionality in voice, you need to have also a relevant output. So at the beginning, you will have the option to listen to the articles, and then and things that we are already doing right now, it will be a continuous listening experience. You won't only listen to one article. We already know user preferences and relevant content, and we create a continuous listening experience. So once one article ends, we go to the next one, and then to the next one with the relevancy to the user and the contextual article that he listened to. So that's where we're heading right now. Another thing that we're already doing right now is not only to be able to listen to a specific article in a specific publication, but also if you want to listen to an article on Spotify, listen to it on Spotify. If you want to listen on Google Podcast, if you want to listen on a smart speaker, be my guest. And this is already something that we are doing with publishing. But as we go forward, and this is the way I see and the way I believe that the publishing landscape is going to change in this decade, is the fact that when I'm, for example, in the Miami Herald, which is one of the publications that we are working with, I will have a conversation with the voice assistant of the Miami Herald, fetching me the relevant content that I want to consume, and also recommend to me relevant content. I'll have the option to have a discussion, so to speak, in regards to the content that I like to hear, or with journalists that I love the content that he writes. I will have the option to listen to curated content, and everything will be a discussion that I won't need to open an app. I'll just talk to the relevant voices of a relevant publication. So this is where we are heading. And I think that, and I know that there are different people in our field of voice and audio that says what would be the voice assistant progress in the coming year. Will we see Google and Alexa and Siri take control of the market? Or are we going to see thousands of different personal assistants or voice assistants that are relevant in different situations? I believe in the second option. I believe that similar to, like, I would say our social network, and I'm talking the real social network, not in Facebook or Instagram. I mean,
Yeah.
We have a friend that when our car breaks down, we give him a call, or if I want to go ski, I have another friend that I call him and ask him about equipment. I think that voice assistant will be the same. We'll have different voice assistant for different needs, or different information sources. And information source can be how I should cook my my dinner, my veggie dinner, or how should I what news I want to consume on a specific topic. And this is the way I see it.
Are you looking for ways to improve your company's or podcast's impact? You'd be surprised how powerful the use of an intentional audio branding strategy can be. Want to know more? I have a free downloadable PDF that gives you my 5 tips for implementing an intentional audio strategy at voiceoversandvocals.com/audio-branding-strategy. That location does ask to put you on a mailing list, just to send you updates on when the new podcasts come out. But if you really don't want to give your email out, I understand. Just contact me directly. My email is all over my website, and I'll make sure you get that PDF without needing to sign up anywhere. If you do sign up, though, you also get access to a resources section called The Studio, where I have videos, white papers, and PDFs, discounts from my guests, and snippets of audio from my guests that no one else gets to hear. So maybe it's worth your while. Totally up to you. And of course, if you're looking for voiceovers, you can get in touch with me about that too. Now, back to the podcast.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Yeah, and I love where that's going, and definitely I agree with you in the future that I think it'll be a lot more diversified. My one question for that is, as a voice talent myself, who is the voice? What is the voice that's going to speak to you in these contexts? And how will they get these voices? So, like, what is your thought on that? Do you think it'll be like the Siri voice? Do you think it'll be the TikTok voice? I don't know. Like, people are going to have to supply these voices. So I'm just wondering where you think that's going to come from.
So I think that, when we started Trinity Audio and we wanted to create our own text-to-speech engine with our own unique voice, and we talked with several companies, we talked about hundreds of thousands of dollars for creating one voice. And in 4 years, that cost dropped significantly. So I guess that in the coming years, that this is what will happen. Is it going to happen next year? Probably not. It's going to take another 3 to 5 years to really commoditize a creation of voice. But in 5 years from now, I can record your voice for, I don't know, even several sentences, and I will get a high quality text-to-speech engine that can produce audio content in quick speed. And it's important because there are many different components. It's not only recording the voice and creating the engine, it's also the how fast is the engine to create a specific audio file from specific text. It's the fine-tune between it's the emotional part of it, and it will improve in the coming years. So I think that at the end of the day, people that have voices that are either unique or influencers, for example. Okay, it doesn't need to be that they will have an amazing voice, but their voice will be recognized. I don't know, like if there are specific journalists that their voice is also recognized easily once being heard. So I think that would be the case, and you will have different voice actors that, of course, their voice, like yours, are amazing, and you like to listen to them, and they will be let's call it the voice celebrities, so to speak, and you will have regular folks that for I don't know, like the pizza owner or in the local pizza that everybody knows by his name, and said, okay, you can order using a voice, and I will answer you, or my avatar with my voice will answer you. So I think this is where we are heading, and I think I know we talked about it, but I'm saying it again and again. I think that the revolution is huge due to the fact that we are changing our communication with machines, with computers, to voice, which is supernatural. No more keyboards, no more mouse, no more joystick. We're using your voice, and this is also shout out to Terry Fisher, our friend.
Yes, yeah. We had this discussion earlier. Yeah,
about it.
Yeah, voice is my OS. Voice is my operating system. So, yes, it's such a good phrase. Yeah.
Amazing. He nailed it.
This has been part 1 of our interview. I hope you'll tune in next week for part 2. Well, that's the end of this episode. Thanks for listening. And if you like what you heard, why not tell a friend about this podcast? It's available in all the usual locations. Until next time.